Are you ready?
Yeah.
And 3, 2, 1.
Ready?
Look at the bridge. Hi, bridge.
It's Saturday night, train night, August 5th, 2017, and this is the What's Neat This Week podcast. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat monthly show at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine, and I'm wearing one of Jeff Otto's shirts from Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply tonight because they made me take off my black shirt. But Jeff came by and showed us how to build some really cool turnouts, and we apply them to a real live layout coming up in a future video, so it was really fun to hang out with Jeff. Tonight I've got Thomas Heel, our computer expert, with us. I've got Michael Buddy, Dirk Reynolds, Daniel Coombs, the great Chris Palomares, and myself, and I'm going to hand it over to Chris because I think he's got a good show agenda for us tonight.
Well, tonight we're going to be digging in first to some viewer questions. And this one kind of has a lot of loose ends to it, so let's just answer what we can. We don't have to have all the answers, just maybe like a good idea where to look. So we have Joel's Train here, who's asking, hey, can you guys do a video on model railroad industries? How are industries more than just spotting a boxcar next to a building? What I think he means by that is just like, what's the importance behind it? What are the most common industries, and what are the least common model railroad industries that you can think of? How can the modeler research industries to know what types of freight cars are needed to model? There's a lot of components to that. I'm just going to start off like it's changed in the 200 years of how long railroads have been around. It's changed quite a bit, you know. So the next question is like, well, what era? Let's kind of narrow us down to the modern era, because we can actually look at
Define modern.
Modern era, post 90s.
Okay.
Post 1990s to current.
It changed. It became containerized in the period of time that you're describing. Everything changed. We went from the beautiful boxcars to nameless trains with eagles on them.
And graffiti.
But, you know, that's kind of beside the point. We're kind of outside the mark on that. He's talking about the industry.
Okay.
So if things are containerized, what are the industries that are revolving around that to, service that? What would your direction be to model that? What supporting items are...
There's a lot more, direct shipper to shipper with those containers nowadays. I mean, because, everything from TVs, little knickknacks and everything, because like Ken said, everything used to be all nice, pretty boxcars.
Right.
But everything is getting more streamlined with all these containers. So, you got the big hubs of container ports, whatnot. They load it up in the train, send it out to the next destination. It comes out, and it's pretty much straight. They put them on these little tractor trailers that haul out by semis and go directly to the end user.
Right.
There's still a lot of industry, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it used to be.
Right. Well, let's break down the industries that are prevalent.
Automotive.
Right.
You mean served by rail?
Served by rail.
Right. Some lumber companies, a lot of lumber companies, and
paper's still pretty big with that.
I'd say recycling centers of some sort.
Right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a
I
real
remember trash trains. We still have trash trains?
We got
They do.
Well, we got
They
the
do.
recycling center out in Afton.
Yeah. But like
UP
scrap
still
yards
services.
with crushed autos,
Right.
Shredded metal.
Yeah, the recycling's a big one. I mean, beyond just metal, there's also paper.
Right.
I think that's an upcoming.
How much warehousing goes on? I'm going to pull my container up.
Yeah. Straight from
Yeah.
train,
You mean like
container,
storage?
port, warehouse.
Well,
To
any
customer.
distribution or anything, I'm going to pull my tractor trailer and take
There-
that container in.
That's still pretty prevalent because, if I'm not mistaken, Menards built a distribution center down off I-44 here, and they have a direct rail connections into that, so they get shipments of wood and assortments and whatnot that come into that hub and sends it out to all the local Menards down here.
Right.
So they're not completely gone. Those hubs and everything, warehouses and whatnot, they still play.
I've
no
never
matter
thought
what.
of them as Menards as a railside industry, but in
Right.
a way,
Well, yeah, you get
it's
concrete,
doable now.
Yeah, concrete
How about
blocks,
that?
wood.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget
Yeah.
plastic pellets.
And Menard
Right.
sells trains too, by the way.
And all kinds
do.
of grain.
We
know.
just, what show did we just? We're in Kansas City coming back, and I guess we're on 70. Looked over, giant industry, and then
It's
one
a-
track up, one track down, and you could tell those are plastic pellet hoppers.
Yeah.
I think it's a roofing company.
Is that what it is?
I know. I seen that industry.
Yeah.
It's past like Wright City off of 70 there, but now they got a nice
It looks
connection. It is new. It's new within the past 4 or 5 years. I think it's a roofing company.
One of the easiest ways to answer the question about industries is a simple walk through the Wathers catalog and look at the structures that they've devised, because
yeah.
they've sat down and researched this. When I photographed the automotive series and then they did the automotive
Right.
book, it was just a magnificent amount of information of things. It was so rich that that even the auto racks in it were just rich. Same thing with the waterfront series, whereas they did the research, they came out with the books on rivers and lakes. There's so much of that information that's out there in those books with regards to industries and freight cars.
Yeah.
And it's just about in that era that you're describing, although I think Wathers picked it up in the 60s to catch some of that business. But how much it's changed since the days of 1874 with the gold ores coming out of the mountains, to the stamp mills, to the processing places, receiving coal to run their machines. Tons of lumber was hauled into the mountain to
Right.
build all of these small villages and gold mining towns. And that industry, you're talking trains of 25 cars or 15 cars. In your head, you can actually manage that. So it's kind of neat to model that when you're going 15 miles an hour through the layout, top speed. But it's so different than today. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but we all know that.
Well, let's preface this by, modelers looking to research this outside of 1990, before, since the inception of railroads in the United States to 1990. I'm going to reference the layout OPSIG. They have a lot of information just sort of ready to go. A lot of guys have already done the research for you, or they've done it for themselves. And if someone is amicable to the idea of sharing, that might be a good way to go. It saves a lot of time. You end up with a lot of people in the know. I would recommend to start there. I'm browsing the website right now at opsig.org. Another thing to think about in the back of your head is AAR has another website here, aar.org. And if you go into their news, you can check out, carload statistics for the modern times. And what's up, what's down, what are they hauling more of over another. And one thing that is perfect for layouts is frac sand. And it's one of the biggest growing commodities in the, United States.
Okay, definition.
Yeah,
Frac
what kind of
sand-
freight cars?
2-bay.
What is frac sand?
Frac sand is what they use to mine oil.
Hydraulic
Okay,
fracking.
okay.
Right.
Fracking.
Fracking.
Right.
Hydraulic
Okay,
fracking, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Mix it with water and shoot it down
Okay.
into cracks.
Right, exactly. And they use 2-bay hoppers to haul this out. It's making a huge comeback, and it's really going to be setting the tone for American railroads in kind of like a lower scale coal environment. So you'd want to consider something like that. And the industries are actually pretty modelable. I did some Googling. I dug up an industry kind of showing it's a few of them are like a balloon track, or maybe even smaller, like a lot of curves. They
Right.
do loading on curves. It's
Right.
just a big conveyor belt going into these things. And, the 2-bay hopper is friendly to 18-inch radius curves, so it will work on like a 4x8 foot smaller size layout too.
Nice.
That's a great idea.
You can get a lot of neat operation in a little space like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, 3 or 4 cars, you can be shuttling around that all day in just like a little space. So get a lot of cars for the amount of space that you get. So I think there's just so much to a question like that we got to just sort of like broaden it up a little bit more. Yeah. We can give some guidance too. It's just like, if you're thinking about boxcars against like some sort of warehouse scene, you might want to go 3 times the size of the boxcars you want to use. Just it looks kind of funny, and at least my opinion. I'm just talking about my opinion. It looks kind of funny to me if you have an 86-foot boxcar parked in front of like a real small warehouse.
Yes.
It just the proportions just look a little bit off.
Yeah, it just looks out of place.
Right. It doesn't, not knocking anybody, but it's just when you go out and you're looking for a realistic setting for something, maybe just have that in the back of your mind if that's an objective. Otherwise, it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Right.
If that's not an objective, that's great. So, the other question that is popping up is kind of continuing off our last podcast for vehicles. Mike, you've done a lot of vehicle modeling. Why don't you just kind of come in and tell us some of the things that you've done over the past What's Neat, and we're going to have Daniel kind of weigh in on where to find them.
Yeah, I need some more What's Neat vehicle segments,
Yeah.
Mike. I like it when you're on
Well.
the show. I love those segments.
Well, era is important. With
Right.
the first part of your question, a modeler has to decide on what era they're, and then research from there. But my cutoff is 1980. I like stuff prior to that, like 1976, 1980. But the advent of 3D printing has really brought out
Right.
a lot of stuff that we never dreamed of 10 years ago.
Right.
And the first ones that came out were pretty rough, required a lot of work, a lot of sanding, and I think that's the one that What's Needed, September 2014.
What month did the guy come
Is that
from
right?
Germany?
That was
Daniel?
Yeah, Jens
July
Jan.
of 2015. You interviewed him.
Yes,
Jan was
July
the-
of
Yeah.
20, and that's the one I said it was like the ring of a tree or something. And Mike's like, "Well, that makes sense if you think so." Boy, was I had
Well,
a few too many to drink that day.
Yeah, now there was another one where we actually showed working on the cars, or we had them spread out on the table.
That
or
was
something.
neat.
But anyway,
Those
they're a lot
pickup
better
trucks,
than that now.
yes.
That's my point. With the advent of
Shapeways,
3D
yes.
printing is really advanced, and some of the models coming out now are require very little work. So,
With the
That's-
advent of 3D, I'm telling you, if the guy figures out how to take this 3D printing and get clear plastic,
yeah,
and then how to dye that plastic so you could have a red, a green, a blue car or whatever,
yeah.
that guy's going to be a multi-billionaire.
I don't know about that. In this industry, I'm still waiting for the day to find. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
still working on that
Shoot,
ourselves.
technology is moving so fast these days.
Yeah.
We'll
Mhm.
watch next year. We'll come back. We'll be talking about this. Be like, wow, look at this 3D
Yeah.
printer.
Right.
It gives
exactly.
you a brand. You want a car? There you go. Press
Yeah.
done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Also, I was going to say
Yeah.
Dremel does make a 3D printer.
Yeah.
And it's one of the manufacturers out there. Ken did a review on it in December's 2015.
Yeah.
That was a good video.
In depth on how to just make anything. But
That was a nice machine.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you can take some off their website.
It made a great school bus.
And let's say
Yeah.
you just want to, I don't know, Mike, give me a model of a car, just
Right.
any model. That,
66 Impala.
all right, you put that into their Dremel program and you kind of size it to the HO scale or whatever scale you model, and then you log it into the printer. It heats up. It'll print it out in like I think 2 hours, and then bam, you got your model ready to go.
Well,
Well-
let's take that into the future, since we're talking about future tech right now with
Yeah.
3D printing. RC cars in HO scale as electronics
Oh,
inevitably
yeah.
get smaller.
No, don't get me
Well,
started.
what were the videos that we
RC
did
cars.
where we talked to Ed, I think?
Ed
John,
Richardson.
Ed Richardson and
John Tyson.
John
John
Tyson.
Tyson, magnificent.
Yes.
Magnificent vehicles. And Ed
Oh,
Richardson.
insane.
That was
Oh,
August
yeah.
2016.
And there's not
August
really a
26th,
distributor in the United States that stocks that. It's still all in Europe. I'd like to
Right.
find a one-stop shop where you can get the parts, or a manufacturer,
Yes.
i.e. one that I know that's sitting next to me, possibly, that could come out with vehicles or trucks that are radio controlled. You already got the trucks in stock. Just come up. You got an RC department. Should
Yeah.
I be quiet? I don't know, but the resources are in a cornfield in Champaign to come out with something dynamic.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
there's also the faller system, because you can't fit enough people into a room to operate a freeway a model freeway. You're talking about
Well,
30
yeah.
vehicles moving
Right.
in tandem. So,
But I'm sure some
Yeah.
of these computer whizzes can figure out a way to make all these cars move at once, you know.
right. You know, there's this website on YouTube called DCC Train Automation, and they have just a video. I'm going to be running that right now, where he actually put together a small layout, and that's all it is vehicles that are moving.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool because they stop at stoplights,
Right.
they go into turning
see.
lanes, and the flasher comes on.
Man.
You know, it's
Yeah.
high level stuff. And if you're doing something where you have road and a nice long stretch of it, you know, that would really add a lot to be running a
definitely.
train, and you see a couple trucks drive
Right.
by. You know,
Headlights on.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
that-
I know. That's
That brings the level of realism to your layout to a whole different level that
Right,
right.
none of us have.
But I
been
don't
able
want to
get
put wires in my roads. I want to be able to drive them remote control and just have one or two cars for us.
well, yeah, and,
you can
and
do that too.
That museum over there in England or in Europe, the great big, it's a Germany.
Oh,
the
the
great
Wonderland-
big
Wonderland or
They've
whatever
got
it is.
the full
Although
system
that's-
running with their 15,000 computers on the wall, and it all works and operates. And that's really cool to look at. But in your home, it'd be like flipping a switch and the machine would drive you crazy, because now I might as well go outside and see traffic. I can see that out there. I want to drive a car by myself here.
well,
That's
you know,
true.
I think it'd be kind of like a game of Frogger, because you have the
Yeah.
computer doing stuff and you drive around it. It's like,
Oh, that would be
well,
fun.
what's up with this person? They're driving too slow,
I'm
and you
gonna
whip
pass
out
them,
and you try to
even
avoid the
though I'm
oncoming
driving a
traffic.
semi.
Yeah, a little road rage on the layout ain't bad.
No,
It's
no,
safe.
no. It's supposed to be fun. not-
It's safe.
you know, taking out your worries on your own little road rather than on the real road.
That's true.
Right.
Like,
Broadcasting live from the bluff for the Mississippi River. It's train night, and I sure hope we get to run some trains tonight. I want to run some trains.
You know, I think you know, this is a good time to kind of pull the plug on this one, and
Okay.
you know,
Thank
we
you very
all weighed
much
in. Thank you everybody for
To the folks that have given to our GoFundMe account, I looked at it tonight. We're past $1,600. I've discussed things with Thomas Heil with regards to what we need, and Chris for setting it up so that our podcast will be able to be broadcast live. Plus, we'll also be able to upload this material directly into our computer for easier editing.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of great things that are going to come up to streamline the show and make it that much better, which will then translate over into What's Neat, because I can't wait to start traveling around the country and start interviewing various really cool segments.
yeah, absolutely.
But thank you very much. We work for you now. This show is your show, and it's all about the health of this hobby. Whether you're an advanced modeler or a beginner modeler, it's all the same. It's about the health of this hobby overall.
Yeah, and you know, I'm glad Daniel can weigh in on this, because we need that perspective from
Right.
you know, his generation, and we don't look at people generationally, but you know, I think it's just been kind of like a poignant topic for people, is just who is the next generation that's going to be coming into
Yeah.
the hobby, and I really want to feature that face into this podcast. I've been talking to Ken about that. And you know, I'm really excited about like some of the things that Daniel brings to the table, and
Every manufacturer would like to get into his head. He is the customer. He's the youth that they're all looking for, that they say is not there, but it's
The
there.
educated customer.
True.
so guys, thank you for watching. Please like, dislike,
Yeah.
and comment below. Ask us questions.
Train
and-
shows.
Dirk's right, train shows, and you know, we'll get back to you as quick as we can with the weekly format. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.